Hello. In this video, I wanted to talk about connecting drawn lines. So in the past, I have talked about drawing two dots and ghosting lines, in which you try to basically draw a line and practice it without actually drawing the line between 2 points. I believe this method was from Scott Robertson's book. But the important thing is, or the thing I really didn't try to talk about too much, was that you're trying to hide these two dots that we drew. You pretty much want your line to swallow them up. I believe that quote's actually from Drawbox, or from Uncomfortable. And the purpose of it is you don't want these to be shown in the final drawing. You kind of want them to disappear in the big picture. So the other thing is you want to make your points not too big, but also not like small usually works, but you don't want to make them impossible for yourself to see. So it's kind of a balance game you have to play with yourself when it comes to figuring this out, because it could be a real big challenge to do that. Because the thing is, my pen that I'm using has pen pressure, so to really get it properly, I kind of have to like focus on it. If you are using something like a fine liner or whatnot, it will usually work itself out for the most part. But like, with me, I have to lay on the proper pen pressure I laid when I drew the original dots. Or if I draw it too thick, there's a good chance it's going to linger around after I draw the line. So I think these dots are very beneficial for if you're like plotting something out, or if you're trying to get the big picture of something when you're doing a constructional drawing. The other thing, I kind of missed it. I went a little over it. I'm a bit tired right now, and it's a bit late where I'm at, but I really wanted to make this video, so I'm going to kind of fight through the exhaustion a little bit. I know I said I wouldn't make videos when I'm exhausted, but it's kind of like that. So yeah, the thing that I would say is try to focus really hard on, paying attention to the dots to try to swallow them up. If you're working in a physical media, you're going to have to be extremely careful, because when I'm dealing with digital, I could kind of just like do it in like a playing around way, in which I could use Control Z. I'm against that. I will say it can be bad doing that, just because like I try not to get in the habit of it. I want to have careful lines that I draw. I don't want to just draw them all, draw them without thinking about it. Thinking about every line is extremely important. So don't worry about how much time it takes you to do something like this. But the other thing is, I missed it because I'm talking, multitasking. I'm not good at multitasking. So let me shut up for like 1 second and try to get a good line. That works. It's a little too big of the dot that I drew, and I was probably just a little bit off. You have to be really, really careful, and it takes a great deal of focus to really get that. And also, don't draw when you're tired. And I'm drawing when I'm tired, so I'm kind of breaking a lot of my rules. So let me be the living proof to my own advice, in which I could still practice in a stupid way. So let's say I get this line, and I know I kind of screwed it up. So the thing is, we have our line drawn, and you want to draw some other type of line connected to that. Well, you just plot another dot, and you would ghost your line more until you're eventually comfortable enough to execute it. I was off. Off again. Okay, I went a little bit over, but the thing I'm trying to show is that it hides the dot pretty well. I feel like you really can't see it so much. And I feel like the only people who would be looking for these types of dots are the people who actually know. I think the straight lines, you will be fighting with them. I wasn't trying to make anything specific, but I have drawn multiple boxes before, or to just show the why. And I want to say, I feel like I could do a pretty good job covering it up, covering up initial construction. But there are some times when you may do construction in which there's not really a clean way to cover it up unless you somehow like look at it, use it as reference to transfer over somewhere else. I've always wondered the benefit of using a drawing that you do and transferring it elsewhere. I always wondered could that work, or does that cause like more issues in the long run? Well, I guess that's kind of like a thing that I will just have to kind of figure out for myself. So, drawing the Y, and I'm really trying to obscure the dots. But like I said, most people who are looking, they're probably going to believe in the big picture illusion and not even look for the dots. I was a little off. Just a little frustrating. I also made the dot a little bit too big. I should have made it really small. I laid too much pen pressure when I drew that dot. I laid too much pen pressure because I was not thinking. Okay, so I drew a corner of a box. I don't want to go further with that because I think I kind of helped hone in the point for that. I want to talk about another method. It involves just working with lines. I feel like sometimes if you're drawing things like gesture, you may draw lines. You are looking at some reference to do it. But look, the line ends. I kind of let off on the pen pressure when I ended that line. And the thing about that is if I want to add another line to it, I could either pick some segment, whether at the end or a little bit up more. And I was off, surprisingly. I would ghost my lines with this as well. But if you do stuff like that to connect it, there may be a purpose if you're observing some type of reference. And you can tell right here is where I had that transitionary period. But I think if I would have laid a little less pen pressure initially, still a little off. Laid too much pen pressure. I was off again. But kind of like that, I could still see it if I'm looking really close, but I feel like it's a balance game you kind of have to play around with to really get it to work, but it can be done. Like you can subtly connect your lines through that way as well. So we have the dot method in which you use two dots, and you have, I guess, what I would call the continuous line connection method. I just made that up on the spot. Maybe there's another term for it, but it's all about hiding the illusion of your drawn lines and making it seamless. There is one other method that I wanted to talk about. I can't pull it off because I lack the skill, but I do know there are artists out there that can pull it off. What they'll do is they'll do a whole drawing, and I don't know if they use dots or how they do it, or if they make some other type of thing or reference off at the side, but they'll do like a whole type of drawing using like one single continuous line without really breaking through. Something like that. My example is going to be bad and riddled with mistakes. But like they'll do stuff like that. I want to say, I don't know if it's like some mass-produced art or if it was like from special artists that focus on that, but I want to say I saw it in a Starbucks one time. I want to say like a long time ago, Starbucks used to like feature local artists in like the front area, and I thought that was pretty cool, but I don't know if they do that anymore. That may have just been like a thing from over 10 years ago, or maybe even like 15 years ago. But I was really young at the time, but I just kind of remember that. So that's another method that probably needs more exploration. But personally, I don't really focus on that so much. I would either use probably the continuous line. Continuous line connection or dot connection. Maybe I would use this single line for I would just call it single line execution, because you're executing all on like one continuous line. I think of like if you're trying to draw an ellipse, I kind of think of that as like a single line, because when you execute that, you're doing it in like one swing and you're also connecting it back to itself, even though I kind of didn't lay enough pen pressure over here. But you know, I think that is a viable way. You know, even though I tried to, and I totally did bad at it over here with the cube. But it goes to say, I think smaller things you can do. Like, you don't have to execute a whole massive thing in one swing, but I know there are artists out there who probably can do that. But yeah, smaller segments or smaller shapes that you think you could execute, and you could ghost them as well, which is like drawing without drawing. But yeah, you know, these are like the three methods that I think of when it comes to connecting your lines. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for any other methods, because it's hard for me to think. I'm trying to cover the big ones. I wanted to say I had this idea before I went to bed, and I like quickly wrote it down, which is kind of common for a lot of my videos. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you have a question, please ask in the comments, or you could email me. And if you like the video, please like it. And if you like my channel, please subscribe. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.